Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Lisa and Virginia, for inviting me to this beautiful space. I feel very honored to be among these other writers as well. I am going to read an essay that originated in Brian's workshop, as almost everything I've written does. And it's about my first Mother's Day after my son died. It's called Choice Words for Mother's Day. I was standing at the kitchen counter in the empty house where 4 months prior, a pipe under the sink had sprung a leak, sending my husband Eric and our toddler son Seamus on an errand that would conclude with our lives imploding and a picture of our son's crumpled stroller on the front page of the Oregonian newspaper. The headline read, "Boy struck in stroller while crossing North Portland intersection dies." A tidy summation of the 27 hours of blinding terror between the accident and a doctor glancing at the clock to declare a time of death. In the distance, a bell signaled the arrival of the MAX light rail, and I gazed out the window across a field to the intersection where the crash had happened, which was visible from nearly every room in our house. The house's proximity to transit and the grocery store had been a selling point when we bought the house in 2005. The postage stamp-sized front yard was plenty big for Seamus, who learned the words car, bus, train, and doggy while standing at the living room window, identifying everything that passed by. But now the lights and the noise and the traffic tormented us. We had moved into an apartment and were preparing to put our house on the rental market. I had come to collect the mail. Sorting through a pile of envelopes and catalogs in the vast emptiness where a chubby little boy had once tugged at my pant legs, I came across an invitation from the hospital. They were holding a reception on Mother's Day weekend to honor the families of children who had died there. A note from the social worker, scrawled in the same handwriting as a cell phone number on a business card in the bottom of my purse, said, "I've been thinking of you both." When your only child is dead, there is nowhere to hide from Mother's Day. Not home, where his absence looms largest. Not outside, where babies are crying and tow-headed toddlers are holding grandma's hand on the way to brunch. Not with family and friends, when you know you're just going to make everybody sad. I considered the invitation. A room full of parents who know something about this pain seemed like a reasonable option. After discussing it with our therapist, I decided to go and convinced Eric to come with me. The event was held in a large windowed space that combined the worst elements of a conference room and a chapel. We were greeted with a hug at the door by the chaplain. My blood ran cold as I recalled how he kept showing up at Seamus's bedside, despite our requests for him to stay away. "We are atheists," we told him. But he was undeterred, even bringing along his apprentice at the end. On our way to our seats, we passed by a table with construction paper, glue sticks, markers, and glitter. Eric shot me a look that reminded me of the scene in Platoon when U.S. soldiers realized too late that they are walking into an ambush. I apologized under my breath, but we were trapped. A social worker opened the ceremony with a song, accompanied by a guitarist. I recalled her calm, practiced instructions in the ER. "Drink some water," she said, thrusting a Dixie cup at me. "Sit down, breathe." Now she flung her arms up on the high notes of a song called "Borrowed Angels," reminding us that the children who shine brightest on this earth can't stay forever because sometimes heaven needs them back. After a brief keynote address by a mom whose baby died of a heart defect, it was time for sharing. My eyes darted in search of an exit as I realized that they would pass a microphone around the room. A young woman was the first to speak. She was thin and fidgety. She introduced her mom, who had accompanied her, and then matter-of-factly said she had buried her infant son next to her daughter, offering no explanation of how either of them died. A father whose teenage son died of cancer spoke movingly about the relationships he had developed with doctors over the years of his son's illness. His experience seemed so meaningful. How nice to be able to see it coming, I thought, to be thoughtful and present for your child. Our final moments with Seamus were marked by panic and confusion. Someone passed the microphone to me, and I stood up on legs that felt hollow. In a trembling Minnie Mouse voice, I told people that our son had died of a brain injury and that we had donated his organs, saving the lives of 2 children. I sat down, feeling ashamed at my need to soften the cause of death, to tack on the happy ending. Passing the microphone, I locked eyes with a woman who was around my age, her face contorted in a pent-up sob. Her husband did not reveal their son's cause of death, but when he said he was only 3, I felt my own pain grow and multiply like weeds in my chest. After the service, Eric and I drove to Hood River, where the only break from our misery was saying, "What the fuck was that?" over and over again. We had managed to escape the crafting table, but we imagined ourselves there, gluing pictures of Seamus to construction paper. I'd write, "Rest in peace, our borrowed angel." Eric would bedazzle it. We'd hang it in our living room, secure in the knowledge that our loner child was back in heaven where he belonged. I woke up the next day, Mother's Day, to a text message from my friend Weather, who had been trying to get pregnant for the last 3 years with only a miscarriage to show for it. The message was a selfie, her face scowling, middle finger raised. "F you, Mother's Day," it read, and I replied with a middle finger raised in solidarity. As childless women in our 30s, we were both outsiders. I had been kicked out of the club, and she had been denied entry. I shared Weather's text message with Eric over breakfast. We went for a hike in the gorge. I thought we were out early enough to avoid people, but then we rounded a corner and were confronted by a young dad with a curly-haired toddler in a backpack. The child shot us a brilliant smile, and as soon as they were out of earshot, I said, "Fuck you, baby." Eric laughed as a new, better coping mechanism emerged, one that felt more like us. We spent the day wishing harm on everyone we saw. Grandparents, mothers, fathers, children, a puppy even. We discreetly told them to fuck off. We made fun of their stupid hats and ill-fitting clothes. We joked about creating a grief calendar where all the holidays would be renamed. Fuck you, Valentine's Day. Fuck you, 4th of July. Fuck you, Christmas. When we reached the top of the small mountain, the forest canopy gave way to a sea of wildflowers and an expansive view of the Columbia River. I wandered out into the middle of the field, then turned to face Eric with both middle fingers raised. He snapped a picture as the other hikers looked on. I sent the picture to Weather, along with a text message officially anointing the new holiday. Fuck you, Mother's Day. A few years following our text message exchange, Weather and I celebrated Fuck You Mother's Day together at our home in Athens, Georgia. We were sipping coffee while our children chased her dogs around the yard. I was thinking about a friend who had recently lost her young daughter and another friend whose mom had been diagnosed with cancer. Of course, I was thinking about Seamus. For so many of us, the holiday did not compute and never would. Today, Weather and I have 4 living children between us, but the yearly ritual of middle finger selfies endures. Last year, she included a second picture as well, a bouquet of pink flowers arranged by her husband and sons. Her message read, "Take whichever one you need today." Thank you.